Here. So welcome everyone. My name is Sarah Seidelman and this is the Hummingbird series. And I have with me today the wonderful Alyson Charles. Please say hello, Alyson.
Hi, Sarah. Oh my gosh, I've just been really looking forward to spending more time with you. Every time we're able to reconnect, it always brings my heart such deep gratitude and joy just considering our history and journey together that spans about a decade at this point. And also, side note, love that it's the Hummingbird series because that was the animal that came in the ceremony I just got out of. So,
Wow. Beautiful. Yes, I feel such a kinship with you and almost like a colleague, also like a daughter. Like, I mean, I'm probably 15 years old. I don't know how many years older than I am than you, but I just am like every time I think about you, I'm just so I feel like a pride and like an honoring of, yeah, you're just amazing. So Alice and I have been connected for a while, and she has written this beautiful new book that just came out, and it's called Animal Guides. And guys, you got to get a copy because it is just so beautiful. It is full color illustrations and this art. We're going to talk about that because I know a lot of you who are listening are creatives and are writers, and it's just amazing.
mm.
But what I want to start with is you don't just write a book, like decide to write a book about animal power just out of the blue. Like this comes from a deep, and I know this comes from a deep, deep place in you. And Alyson is
Mhm.
a shaman and produces, I just want to say a little bit more, is produces this amazing podcast called Ceremony Circle. And I always tell people start with episode 1 because when I started with that episode, it's just like it blew my mind, and it's such a beautiful podcast and a gift to all of us. And each episode ends with a beautiful ceremony where you really feel that love and connection between all of us who are interested in this path of awakening and being of service to the planet, to each other, to this creative force. And
Mhm.
so where talk about like just maybe start us how did the animals start to come to you? And we share that like the animals sort of
Yeah.
saved us, right?
Yes, and by kinda saved us, like, for me, definitely fully saved me. Yes, and I love your sweater, and, it's so good, and I'll need to know where you got that when we wrap. So, yeah, as I'm reflecting back, and for anyone who is new to me and maybe hasn't listened to the episode on Ceremony Circle where I had you on, just to let people know I had a massive spiritual awakening and divine intervention a long time ago. And right after that, when this new gateway, this new path opened up for me, and I finally surrendered and got out of my own way and asked for guidance on my healing journey, the first healer that spirit connected me with was Sarah. And I can't remember exactly how spirit did that. But I worked with Sarah, and it was right after the session with you, I believe, that then I was then instructed to have a healing session with my aunt who's a shaman. And in that journey, some of my main power animal allies started to come in. So this right after this divine intervention, this spiritual support system entered. And the first 4 animals who came in were my core power animal, the black jaguar, and then 3 major supporter animals, the bear, the deer, and the frog. And so that quadrant of system really got me through that most tumultuous time in my life where everything got turned upside down. All the realities that I thought were real disintegrated, obliterated, and these new realities were presenting. And I was having continuous spiritual awakenings. And, I'm happy to share how the 4 of them brought in different levels of support. I mean, the Black Jaguar, it works with me every single day. It's my main guide, but it helped with that spiritual reclamation. It helped me do years and years of really intense, deep shadow work, which, in my opinion, is an absolute imperative part of any spiritual path. And the bear, yeah. And the bear came in and offered such grounding, nurturing support and taught me how to surrender more and more and to let go into the support of the spiritual realms, and then the frog helped me. I had a lot of healing to do, and I was exiting out of a really abusive previous relationship. So healing those emotional waters, clearing out the toxicity, and also I love how frog teaches us, leaps of faith, but also only leaping forward, because obviously frogs never leap backward. And that was for me the main teaching, because I had a history with my former partner of re-entering that cycle of insanity over and over for almost 2 decades. So I needed a strong support system of like only going forward and not turning back again. So yeah, they came in right out of the gate, and our relationship together just grew and grew, and my trust in them and their trust in me just grew and grew, to the point where you fast forward over a decade, and it was the animals who came to me to write the book, and happy to share more. But that's how this book came to be. It was not my idea.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that, even though like I've been like you in the tutelage of these amazing beings, the animals and their spirits for like, yeah, over a decade. And yet I continue to learn beautiful new things. And your book, like that, I somehow I'd read the part about the frog because I had never read that frogs never leap backwards. And like what a profound, yeah, because it can be so tempting to think, oh, it'll be easy to go return to the known thing, the thing that's behind you. When, yeah, often we're just being called to go forward.
Yes.
Yeah, tell me so a little bit about like, how do you, because I think sometimes when people are being introduced to this world of animals and their messages, like, how do you, like, if you have somebody who's just starting out and is like, how do I begin to connect with these messages? What were some of the ways? And I
Mm.
love in the book, you guys, there are interspersed between all the hundreds of animals that are listed in here, there are beautiful stories from individuals illustrating the unique ways that the animals, the beasties will kind of communicate with you. And that is just so brilliant.
Mm.
What a wonderful addition. But for you, maybe for you, and then like, yeah, how would you advise somebody who's just starting in this path and really curious
Mm.
about messaging
Mm.
animals?
Yeah, I oftentimes really believe that it's the simplest of rituals and simplest of practices that are the most powerful and potent and profound. And it can really start with just simply letting the power animal realm know that you're ready to unite with them, that you're ready to commune with them in a deeper way, because that alone just, my preference is speaking things out loud and really letting it be heard and be known. But of course, you can just speak it internally as well. But that opens this gateway. It allows that realm of power animal support know that you're now a more willing participant. And I don't know your thoughts on this, but in all of the many infinite guides I've been so blessed to meet and work with in all the different dimensions, some guides who come in, like let's say Goddess Kali, come in with the force, and it's undeniable, and it can, rock your world. But then there are other guides, and I feel the power animals kind of go into this category where they prefer an invitation and they're not as invasive. And so I think if working with power animals speaks to you, really letting them know that you're in that place of readiness and willingness is a huge step. And then it does become our responsibility, because they will start to show up more, whether it's in your dream time or whether it's in the waking world as you're, going out to your car. If all of a sudden, two butterflies cross your path and then they hover, at your windshield as you're getting into your car, those are guides coming to you trying to get your attention. So it becomes our duty to be aware and take the next step, to go to your book or go to my animal power book and start to lean into the research. Why did those butterflies present, and starting to learn the medicinal teachings. So that's one way. And then, let's say for a specific example, this ceremony that I'm just coming out of, it was a mini day ceremony. And before that ceremony began, I sat with my animal power book and I held it up to my heart center and I just connected to my breath, connected to my heart, connected down into Great Mother Earth and Great Spirit, and got into that vertical line of clarity. And I called the benevolent power animal guides forward. And I said, if there's a guide who wishes to present, who wants to be my main totem for this weekend ceremony, I welcome you in. And I kept my eyes closed and just flipped through the book and just intuitively opened, and it was the hummingbird who presented. And so, there's so many different ways, but those are a couple of examples.
I love that. That makes me think of how they can come. Sometimes I love that, inviting them, saying, I'm ready. I'm done trying to do this on my own. I need some help
Yes.
here. Reminds me of a time when I was sitting in a ceremony a few years ago in the jungle in the Amazon, and it was the first ceremony that we were sitting in with grandmother ayahuasca, and it was um, the first night, and I remember being really scared because the medicine person handed us this cup of medicine that was so large I don't even want to demonstrate. And I was just like, oh boy, this, I don't know what's about to happen. And I felt kind of that terror. And it was not too long after that that I kind of looked down to the ground and I perceived, not with my eyes, but with spirit, the presence of this gigantic, nice, fat tapir that was just lounging next to me. And I was
Mm.
like, hey, are you here to help me? And she's like, yes. She's like, my name is Tranquila.
Mm.
And it was just, that was it. She was just there to keep me calm. And it was so
Ah,
beautiful. And so they come in these ways that sometimes we just can't even predict. I
yes.
want to talk about so thank you, Tranquila, because I still think about you and how,
Yeah.
yeah, you're just that largesse, that heaviness, that weightiness that even
Ah.
spirit can have, and just that strength, and
Mm.
comfort. I wanted to ask you about, to explain the word power, because I think, when we talk about power animals, sometimes that can be confusing. I know when I first got into that, I was like, power, like I was afraid of, I was like, I don't want to have power or be powerful,
Mm.
or
Mm.
I just kind of want to be harmonious with everybody. And I just,
Mm.
I don't know if that was my bringing up as a woman, as a female in this culture, but talk to us about what this power is that you're
Mm.
using when you're talking about animal power that we can.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good question. Nobody ever really asks it in that way. So just tuning in. I mean, the thing that was coming to me as you were asking it, I just kept hearing the phrase, it's unification with your own soul. So yes, there are, like the word surrender too, power, the word power is similar in that there's a lot of misunderstandings or varying opinions on what those words mean. And some people, like the book I initially set out to write was actually on surrender. And when I flew to Bali to write the book on surrender, it was in the first morning meditation where the animals came in and said, that's actually not the book. We're asking you to write a modern day guidebook with us. But in my journey of teaching about surrender so much, I encountered a lot of people that are like, have this opinion that surrender means you just like lay like a limp spaghetti noodle on the floor and you're not proactive about your life. And it's actually the opposite. You're getting in tune and in connection with, the most divine forces, and you get into the path of divine alignment through surrender. And power, it's similar in some of those veins, because yes, there are people who define power in different ways than what I would. To me, it's all about divine power. And surrender comes in when I think of divine power, because I'm no longer living from a place of my mind or what my ego wants for me. I have, done a prayer of surrender to get out of my own way and to live in service of what Great Spirit and Great Mother Earth ask of me to do. And so I live in alignment of answering the calls and heeding the instructions and guidance of those two places. And of course, my own heart and the unification, all the devotion that I put in to unite with my own soul, and to truly live my earth mission. So all those things that I just kind of rattled off are parts of what I define as power. It's divine power. It's truly fulfilling why you incarnated. It's getting in alignment with how you can be of highest, greatest service while you're incarnated on earth. And yeah, it's not a power that takes away from others, and it doesn't have to present as boastful or loud. When you start to unite with your own soul and get in alignment with your true unique divine power, that power can function in any number of ways. That power might be more quiet. You might find that you're a healer and your work doesn't present as mine. Mine's to be very out. Mine is to be in media and function as a public figure. But there are tons of healers that operate, and do only one-on-one sessions, and they live very remotely, and no one would ever know that they're a quote unquote shaman or healer. So I know that's a long-winded answer, but I hope it helped clarify.
Yes, no, I think you touch on it. It's like so complex, right? It is something for us each to find out what it means to walk in our own power and walk in. I love how you describe that, like walking in harmony with that greater power.
Yes.
And that
Yes.
surrender is a part of that power, which yeah, it's oh my gosh. And it's so experiential, right? Which is what I love. It's another part that I love about your book. And what I love about the path of shamanism is that, Alyson and I could sit here and talk all day about the profound things that animals and their messages have done for us, or the love they've shared with us. But when you have an experience, that's how you get to find out whether that's true for you also. And in
Yes.
here, for each of the beasties, I happen to open the penguin, there's a power practice. So Allison's given us like all these incredible methodologies to step into experiencing and tasting firsthand that power
Yes.
of that particular animal. And so I think this is also a book that like yogis are going to want, coaches are going to want, anybody who's creating workshops for people, because
Mm.
there's so many beautiful exercises in here, to just
Thank you for picking up on that. That was a really important piece to me because, and I'm sure you've encountered this a lot. It's like, because the primary way I recommend people to connect with power animals, especially if it's your first time, and especially if you're wanting to meet your core power animal, it's through a guided shamanic journey with a trusted shaman. And so, let's say you go on this guided shamanic journey and you meet your flamingo and you're just like, wow, and you're able to talk to that flamingo in that journey. But then afterwards, the question I get asked most is like, well, then what next? Like, okay, so I've met this flamingo or I met this lobster in the jungle, like, and now what? And so that's where that power practice and taking the time for every single animal entry to create a ritual where you can learn how to go to the next level, learn how to go to the next steps of connection with each animal. Because once you do that, as we know, like the path just continues and continues to open. But sometimes you got to kind of get that shovel out and, you know, dig in the trenches a couple more times to really let the circuitry of co-creation with the unseen realms flow. And also embodiment is such a vital piece to walking the shamanic and spiritual path. I mean, to me, doing the shadow work, being an embodiment and being an integrity, those are like top three pillar teachings that I feel most passionate about. And yeah, like really walking the talk and really living the practices, really living in ceremony is a huge part of the embodiment piece. So again, with the power practices, that helps, I feel, get each person yeah, more embodied and more integrity with the work.
absolutely. And that reminds me that one of the reasons I never forgot you because I mean, I've seen a lot of people in the last 10, 12 years, as clients, but I remember it was like not too shortly after we met, and it was probably shortly after you had spent time with your aunt and received all those four core animals. You fully stepped out into your mission, as what spirit was asking of you. You fully stepped into this public role, and it really brought me back to a teaching that my first teacher shared with me. They brought the drums back to a part of Mongolia where the drums had been taken
Mm,
during the Stalin era,
mm.
etc., and we're restoring shamanic powers and gifts to people there. And anyway, this young woman came, and she was called in her journey to become a shaman. And the next morning, she knocked on the door where they were staying in a hotel and was like, "I'm ready for my training." Like, a lot of people will get called to this path and they'll tuck it in a journal and throw it in their, drawer in the back of some closet and be like, "Yeah, that was a fun weekend." But not so many will say, "Okay, yes, fully yes," even though that's scary, even though that's yeah. And so I just really honor you for saying yes and showing up 1000% for this path. 'Cause it is
Uh,
not easy.
Thank you. I just actually want to treat myself to fully taking that in and receiving the loving words you just shared. Thank you so much for expressing that and that reflection. Because yes, as we both very deeply know, this path is, I mean, it is the most miraculous, and I wouldn't change a second of it, but it is a wild, unexpected, at times incredibly tumultuous medicinal path that I fully trust, which is why I'm fully in it and live in complete devotion to it. But yes, a lot of those visions and instructions that spirit has given me, I will just say they were not all met with total ease. A lot of the instructions that come in, I had to overcome a ton of resistance. And I have said yes to what I am told and asked to do. But sometimes when those instructions or visions come in, I'll say, Really? Or are you sure? And even still to this day, to be honest, I check in very regularly still, 9, 10 years in on the path. Like, I still very regularly check in terms of, am I, is it of God, goddess's will that I continue to call myself a shaman, especially the medicine name Rock Star Shaman, which expresses my connection down into rock, great Mother Earth, and star source consciousness, great spirit. Because yeah, that's a sensitive thing, and a lot of people have differing opinions on using the title, and I've never taken it lightly. So even with different aspects of my work, it's like, okay, with where I have evolved to now, with where Great Mother Earth has evolved to now, with where humanity and all living beings have evolved to now, is it still of your will that I use that medicine name? So anyways, I'm not really sure why that was coming through. I guess it's just, yeah, when you say yes to this path, it's so important to take responsibility, and it's so important to do integrity checks regularly, because things are evolving so fast.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be willing to let go of something maybe that was treasured at one time, and to realize, I remember, yeah, I've heard this from many people, that which always perplexed me, especially when I was early in my training. People would say, "Yeah, there came a time when spirit came to me and told me the time of me healing and working with individual people was over." I remember thinking, "Why would why would spirit say that? Why wouldn't you just keep going until you're 85?" Like, it didn't make any. But it's like everybody has the path that they're on, and yeah. So yeah, I
Mhm.
fully honor that it's a never ending unfolding and checking in. It's alive. It's a yeah.
Yes, very alive.
So when you went, like, I've got a lot of people that will be listening to this who are writers, who are artists, and will
Mm,
be interested to hear, like, first of all, the process for writing the book, like how you did this, and then the process of how you found the amazing artists, because the artists, you guys, the all the art is so beautiful.
Mm,
And each, I mean, they're just all incredible. And I know that when you're working with an illustrator to create a book, that's such a personal, intimate thing.
yes.
So yeah, and it sounds like you were in Bali while you were writing it, or at least the beginning of it.
Yes, yes, yes. Such a journey. This one call of writing this book has been for me. It spanned, I think, overall about 8.5 years in total from, excuse me, from the time when I was living in New York City at the time where literary agents and some publishers started to reach out. Who I was and my work was starting to permeate. And I was taking all of these meetings in New York City with these incredible, book industry related folks. And I just could not get clear on what my first book should be. And that piece went on for 3+ years, which was so odd because I've always been a writer. Ever since I was a little girl, I knew I would be an author. I knew I would have various books, and writing has always just been a natural gift that I've been given. So, taking 3+ years of meetings and not having the clarity, of course, I trust and I trust in divine timing, but there was frustration mixed in, finally aligned with the right literary agents. And in the meeting with them, that's where the idea of the book on surrender came in. Set out to Bali. That's in the morning meditation. The animals came in and said, "That's a great idea and all, but not it."
Not now.
So surrender that surrender book idea, let go of that, and which I love. Perfect. I feel like that book was then written, and switched over to this modern day power animal guidebook. And so when I then of course it was such a dumb moment. I was like, of course it's this book. But it wasn't supposed to be, started to work on until that time. And when I then understood the real book assignment, I knew that I wanted to have it be very illustrated, illustration driven. And so I knew that was going to be one of the biggest decisions, if not the biggest, in pertaining to the book, because again, with embodiment being such an important part of who I am and my teachings, I knew the artwork, it couldn't come from just any artist. It had to come from an artist who could truly have every single one of these 100 full page, vibrant color illustration of the animal. The animal needed to be in true embodiment of the wisdom teachings that the animal represents. And that's no small feat. So, my publisher and I bounced different artists back and forth. And as soon as I saw the artist's name is William Santiago, he's from Brazil. And as soon as I saw his art, I knew he was the one. And I just said a prayer that it would come into alignment. Thankfully, it did. But what was intriguing, a couple intriguing things on the journey with him is that he didn't speak a word of English. And so, just attuning to he and my such, our deep soul level connection. It's very clear that it was part of both of our soul contracts to come together, to unite, even with the Eagle Condor prophecy of him being in the South and in Brazil and me being up here in the US and us coming together to birth this medicine book. So he did an incredible job. And I am so glad you bring him into our time together, because it's very important for me to honor him and honor his life, because while he was only 30 years old, as soon as he completed the 100 animal artworks for this book, he did transition to the other realms and he passed away. And so this book also is such an embodiment of the allness, of shamanic medicine, of the allness of all that is and all that ever was and all that ever will be, which includes life and death. And so the fact that both energies of that cycle of death and rebirth is also embodied in this book. It's just, I feel it, the power of it is even as I say it. And so I just like to speak his name and honor him as much as I can, because he did such an incredible job.
Yeah, William Santiago, wherever you are, we thank you for
Mhm.
this amazing. Like, yeah,
Thank
each
you.
each image is just so profound and beautiful.
Yeah.
So there was a one more, I wanted to touch on one more thing before we're gonna have you do a divination for all of us who are listening, all of us who
Mhm.
are watching this. I love that you included many different, what I like to think of sort of shadow beasties, or these
Mm.
animals, these creatures that are maybe kind of creep us out, like,
Mhm.
or like because of our culture and how we
Mhm.
look at things or trained to look at things. Like you have leeches, ticks, spiders, and there's a wonderful story from Boyd Vardy about Black Mamba, who I had a big shadow teaching myself from.
Ooh, I feel chills as you say that.
Yeah, it was not pleasant, but it was probably the most important message I got in 2010.
Wow.
Um, Talk to me about, like, how do you well, obviously, I mean, you are honoring all these creatures, but what, when people come, sometimes they'll say, well, I asked for a spirit animal and I had a dream that, it was a shark, or it was
Yeah.
it was a wolf and it was chasing me and it was really scary and icky and I didn't like it at all. Um, how do you, yeah, talk to people about how to approach these creatures that
Yeah, yes, you're asking such great questions. And I had such a great time, and I'm so happy with the final product of both Animal Power book and Animal Power deck that will be out in August. And I loved working with my publisher, who is Chronicle. But even in the journey of working with them, some of the editors, this question was brought up, especially around tick and some of these animals that people have had challenging experiences with. And my response was, this is a non-negotiable. Like, I cannot write this book if we aren't allowing in creatures that also bring up resistance or also bring up challenge. We don't push aside or push away something just because it's uncomfortable. That's where we need to lean into the teachings and lean into the medicines and lean into the inquiries. So yeah, I mean, I've encountered this so much. Even with a friend of mine, when Shark presented, yeah, she crinkled the nose and didn't. It was not in liking to this beautiful, powerful animal that came in. But I think that's where the magic is, and the leech is a perfect example because due to, some media brainwashing or whatever, my experience with leech had only been through movies, right? And seeing them as, yeah, like scary, intimidating, slimy. And I felt called many years ago. I was instructed to get leech therapy done. And I, live by the calls. So I knew I needed to do this. I found this world renowned leech therapist from Austria who happened to be in Brooklyn. And I went into his office for some leech therapy. I did it more than once, but I was terrified. And this video actually lives somewhere on YouTube. I did document it, but I was so, so scared. And you see that in the video, palms sweaty, breathing. I mean, going through all the feels, but I knew there was something with this creature that I needed to understand and learn from. And what was so powerful was the teaching of alchemy that the leech gifted me. And I'll forever have this encoding that leech gave to me because I was able to do a complete 180 shift from fear to love, from fear to reverence, because I was totally scared. And once the leeches got attached above my liver, that's where we put them for the first session. Being able to watch these incredible genius beings, like watching their different chambers work, feeling all of their hundreds and hundreds of teeth latch into my skin and attach, and learning that they're pulling from me different toxins and things from my lymph that need to go so that my liver can be cleared, and then they secrete in all of these healing enzymes. And watching them, I mean, we're connected. I mean, these leeches are attached to my being. There was something so deep and so profound that happened within me. I went from, palms sweaty and wanting to cry out of fear to crying in total reverence and such deep gratitude. So there's massive, miraculous, gifted doorways that open up when we can be honest and brave with ourselves and seeing where a trigger is, where a fear point is, and learning how to do the exploration with reverence and lean in and see what the teachings are, because most people operate when they're triggered and feel anger spike up, or I don't like that person spike up, or, and they stop there. They don't take the pause to ask, well, why is it eliciting this potent emotional reaction from me? Why, upon looking at that person or hearing about that person, do I feel like I hate them and I've never met them? Those that go the next steps and ask the questions and ask for the teaching that's for them in that, that's where true infinite evolution exists, and that's where unification with your own soul exists. So all of that comes when I think of leech and the power of leaning into the animals that have these more shadowy components to them.
Yeah, I love it. And I love how each one, like in Boyd's story that he shares of a moment with his dad of pure terror, absolute terror. His dad was so scared this mamba snake was crossing over his body. And this was a real live mamba, and
Yeah.
his dad was so terrified that he started to bleed out of his mouth because he was chewing on his cheeks that hard.
Hmm.
But the beautiful lesson that was learned that day as they lied there quietly, waiting for that mamba to pass through, and it did. So, oh, that's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that about why you included these BCs, and I'm so glad that you did. And that's something interesting about publishing, right? It's this collaboration, and that as authors, sometimes we have to fight for what we believe is true, and sometimes we need our agents to support us in that. So just I would love for you to do a divination for us to for all of us who are listening, to have us receive, support today for whatever's going on with us
Mm.
from your book. And I'll
Mm.
just hand that over to you, however you would like to do that.
Beautiful. Thank you for the invitation. Yes. So I have here with me both the Animal Power book that you've been holding up, and then this is the cover of the deck, Animal Power deck that will be out. Has jellyfish on one side, has the little snail with the gooey trail, has the macaw and the snake. So we'll see. I'll start with the book, but I feel like maybe one card also wants to join us in this voyage. So I'm just going to work with the book how I truly do every single day in my own home at my own altar, and it's the example that I gave earlier of what I did before the ceremony. So I love to start each day just taking my earthing grounding cord down into Great Mother Earth in a sacred, reverent, respectful way, and just attuning to her, connecting into whatever aspect of earth my cord is feeling pulled and guided to. Sometimes it anchors to the very bottom portion. Sometimes it goes to the alive center molten living core. Sometimes it goes to a certain elemental or crystal that lives in a different layer of earth. But I connect my earthing cord down, give thanks, and allow whatever blessings, medicine, Great Mother Earth wants to give to me to start to lift up into me. And I start to connect with the center line of my being, connect fully into my heart center. And then I allow my cosmic light line to go up into the center point of source consciousness, giving thanks and connecting into Great Spirit, just opening up that gateway fully to begin to receive whatever blessings, medicines, teachings that Great Spirit wishes to bestow unto me so I can be of greatest service. And once I'm in that connection line, and the book is at my heart, I then just ask, whatever the intention is for that day. So today's intention is calling in these beautiful power animal allies, calling you into our field that we're all co-creating together with Sarah and her community now, and asking the power animal who will serve this community's highest, greatest earthly good in this moment to come forward now and reveal yourself, and we receive with gratitude. I'm just going to flip through until I can tell we're at the page that wishes to reveal. Oh, interesting. It's a lot of times when I use the book as a divination tool and my solo cast for my ceremony circle, it happened like every time I was tuning in, I opened to people's stories. So today I opened to a friend, she's a yoga and meditation teacher and author, Rosie Acosta, and she shares the story of the dragonfly. So for anyone watching the video, this is the embodied artwork of
Beautiful.
dragonfly. And some of the keyword attributes I'll share, but the first thing I always think of with dragonfly are new directions. So, for everyone joining us, if maybe your eyes are already closed, if not, I invite you, if you feel safe and comfortable, to close them now and just connect with your breath, connect with your heart, and see if the phrase new directions, taking new directions, if it resonates. Just tuning in to what the essence of those words feels like inside of your body, inside of your soul, new directions. And as you tune into that essence of that phrase, seeing if any next step of the new direction voyage wishes to present to you, of these new directions that your soul is ready for, of these new directions that your life pathway is beginning to open up for you. Are you clear on what that new direction is? And if you're inviting in clarity, we allow a next step to illuminate. What is that next step in your new direction journey? Just allow it to enter into your field of conscious awareness. And I could go into a whole journey with all of that, but at least there's a little dollop of something that hopefully
Mhm.
presented. But dragonfly also represents adaptability, mysticism, and magic, the water element, ease, grace, and truth. And then for each entry, there's a portion that explains when to work with me. So when you would want to work with dragonfly, energy medicine messages, and the power practice. So I'll just read one or two energy medicine messages that kind of jump out. I possess great compassion and assist with any healing or counseling work. And compassion energetics has been coming in so loudly this past week. There's something big going on with us returning to the importance of building a foundation of compassion from with anything that we do in life, whether it's personal or work related. Setting a foundation of compassion is so important. And Dragonfly also says, call upon me to break old patterns that are not serving you. So if you do feel that there's this new horizon, these new next steps that your soul is urging you to take, and maybe you're in that kind of quandary dance of you can sense that, and there's that deep place in you that really wants that and knows that's the way forward, but maybe there's something that's an old tether or an old line or just an old habituated way that's crinkly and just trying to hang on a little bit. I invite you to call upon dragonfly, whether in meditation or going on a shamanic journey, and see how the dragonfly might allow you to break some of those old patterns so you can take those next steps forward into the new direction. So thank you, beautiful dragonfly. Can I pull one card?
Yeah, let's do it. That was
Okay.
really good for me because I feel like, yeah,
Hmm.
that new direction really spoke to me. And I think we're just heading into the eclipse season. We've just started, and there's something about this next 10-year cycle
Mm.
that's supposed to be very powerful for taking a new direction. So it feels really,
Mm.
really well timed for me.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you for bringing those pieces in. So with the card deck, this is so the front of it, the lighting is a little reflective, but the front is of each card is similar to the flower pattern that emerges from the front of the Black Jaguar that's on the book. And so I typically, I feel like the deck's already attuned to the intention that we've set for today, but I still like to do 3 knocks on the top just to clear old energy, clear old readings, and get it really set for what we're doing now. And then I just start to shuffle and let the power animal guide who wants to work with us today to reveal in some way. see who we've got here. Who wants to work for this community's highest, greatest earthly good? Okay, this one popped out. Oh, it's two stuck together. Octopus and mouse. What a cute little combo we have here.
Ooh, I love it.
Interesting.
Mhm.
So Octopus asks us, so with the deck, I chose to take one of the healing attributes of each animal and kind of assign it to the card. So the Octopus's message is trust your multitasking powers. So maybe that's a part of these new pathways, these new directions that are opening up. Going to that place of knowingness that we are built for this. You are built for this. And before you even popped into the earth plane, you know, your soul devised this voyage and devised you to have all you needed to open up into this new way and to trust your multitasking powers. Oh, perfect. I love that we're putting the button of the reading with mouse. Its messages release worry. You know, very simple, right?
I love it. I love it.
Just let it go. So I guess the three messages together are, you know, opening up to the new directions your soul is urging you to take, trust in those multitasking powers that are innately built within you, and release the worry.
Wow.
Aho.
So beautiful and just dead on for me right now where I'm at. So thank
Love
you
it.
so much. So, Allison, I mean, obviously, I want everybody to go out and get a copy of this book, Animal Power. It is beautiful. It is going to sit on your coffee table. It's perfect for like new grads, anybody. It's a perfect gift
Mm.
for your favorite yoga teacher, your favorite massage person, your favorite shamanic healer, whoever that person is. It's just amazing. Like it's one that yeah, it's beautiful enough for your coffee table, but you'll
Mm.
want it in your library. And the podcast, go watch Ceremony Circle, go listen to it, excuse me, don't watch it, listen to it, and really set some beautiful time aside for yourself to light a candle and just take a retreat. I mean, that's what, there's just so many beautiful episodes there waiting for you to help you and charge up your own healing and receiving your own guidance that you need.
Mm.
Anything else that you want to share with people that you've got going on that people should know about, Alyson?
That's a great question. Tuning in. Let's see. I guess just the awareness. I think I touched on it. The Animal Power book is available now. It's out and wherever books are sold. I always love when people go to their independent shops and get it there or get it anywhere. I should also know if you do. No matter where you get the book, if you go to my website, AlysonCharles.com, there's a page on there devoted to Animal Power book. And there's links for different places where you can get the book. And once you do, there's a form on that page where you can get sent a free video guided shamanic journey that I facilitate. So it's just a nice gift to have in tandem. You know, you can go on that journey that I guide, and then whatever animal comes forward, you can do some deeper inquiry with the book. And then the Animal Power deck is out August 16th, but it's available for pre order now. And the last thing that wants to come through, my husband and I, Luke's story. I don't actually listen to many podcasts, but for people out there who are big into podcasts, you've probably listened to his. It's called The Lifestylist. It's a huge show. It's been around for a very long time. But he and I are building our unified work together, and that is called Higher Power Couple. And so at some point in the near future, there will be more offerings of him and I coming together and just sharing the wisdom that we've both gained along the way, but in life in general, but especially when it comes to sacred union. So that's something I'm really excited about that will be coming soon.
Beautiful. And man, do we all need it. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, that's fabulous. Well, I look forward to that. Well, thank you so much, Allison, for being part of this and for all that you do.
Likewise. Thank you. I'm always so happy and honored to see you. And just thank you again for being that initial guide after my awakening moment. You know, you create such a genuine, honest, pure, safe space. And I know that it played such a massive role in me having the bravery and the courage and the willingness to say yes to those instructions that started to come in right away because you set such a clear and divine and pure and trust-filled space for me. You set that space right out of the gate, which allowed me to fully lean in, so thank you.
I fully received that. Thank you so much. Thanks for listening, everybody, and have a beautiful rest of your day.